Shane.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Movie Magic Show for Wednesday, the 9th of March, 2022. I am one of your hosts, Shane Bailey, joined by my wickedly talented cast. At the end, it's the film filleting, TV show hating, thought elaborating, Mr. Movies, Ben Stapleton.
We're going in reverse order.
Oh,
Hello,
why
Shane.
not? Mix it up.
Why not?
You know?
Yeah.
To his left, it's the dulcet tones in your headphones here to engineer a sincere atmosphere.
You
Terry
know
Veer.
it. You know it. You know it. Here I am.
And to his left, he loves his VR and shaking his hips like Shakira. Please welcome the era of Jason Mira. Jason, they can't hear that. You're not in an anime.
Fist.
How are you doing, Jace?
Great.
You've already lifted
I
up my
am
spirits, Jace. Nice.
Good. I'm glad.
I had a great day, except the end of my day. It took me 3 hours to get home from the city today.
It's
Which
a
is why
long
we're starting
swim,
late.
right? It's a very long swim.
Yes, true that. True. I got on a train at Town Hall at like 5:10 and then didn't walk through the door until about 8:20, which was terribly painful. But anyway, enough about me. Dulcet tones, how are you, sir?
It's not too bad. All things considered, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that I watched a movie over the weekend. I went up to the Central Coast, caught up with a couple of friends from up there, Lachlan and Kirsten. Brilliant people. Mad props to that dynamic duo from the Central
Yeah, they're
Coast.
great.
Yeah, they're brilliant, absolutely brilliant friends. And so we watched The Batman together, and before that we went to TGIF. And
Ooh.
I had some of the best wings I've had in a long time. Not the best wings in a long time, because I had wings with Ben just recently that were actually pretty damn good. They were very spicy. These are the more traditional wing, though, that like the smaller size, not the big wings. So yeah, it was really good. So I'm doing well.
Good to know.
In summary,
Tell me more about these wings.
How are you, Ben?
Sweet.
Well, I went for buffalo and Jack Daniel's sauce.
look,
That's amazing.
I did watch Gold, but otherwise I'm doing pretty well.
Spoiler
Foreshadowing.
Spoiler warning. For those tuning in for the first time, this is the Movie Magic Show every Wednesday, usually 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. We chuckerheads get together to love, like, bash, and trash the latest the entertainment world has to offer. Got a feeling there'll be a lot of that trashing, as Ben hinted at in a moment. You can catch us live here on Twitch. You can also watch all our past episodes, catch our past reviews on my YouTube channel. Just search Magic Casts, or one word, on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter as well at Movie Magic Show. We'll notify you when we're going live, as well as which films we're going to be reviewing. Speaking of films we're going to be reviewing, today we're going to be kicking it off with a Stan original, Gold, starring the Hollywood heartthrob Zac Efron. We'll then play a little movie actor go and pivot into another film starring a Hollywood heartthrob, and that is Robert Pattinson as the Batman from Matt Reeves. So we'll get into that. Before we get into that, though, we need to set up our end games. These are games we like to play with you at the end of the show. First among them are our film quotes. We're going to give you 2 movie quotes. You need to guess which films they're from. I defer to Mr. Movies Ben Stapleton for movie quote number 1.
First of all, apologies. This is in Creole. Then your boys can use one old rotten AK against them government troops
I know this.
and their new weapons, huh?
I know this.
Glad you do, Terry.
Yeah, right away, immediately.
No.
And movie quote number 2, courtesy of Mr. Mira.
Yes. Smilers wear a crown. Losers wear a frown.
I feel like this is a comedy.
Like a dark comedy.
I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Smilers wear a crown, losers wear a frown. Is that right, Jace?
Yep, that's the quote.
Interesting.
I've got some other
Ooh,
quotes
shooey.
in case no one can figure that one out.
Cool.
And the other game we like to play is 6 Degrees. We're going to give you 2 actors. You need to try and link them via actors they have starred alongside. This one comes courtesy of our dear mod and friend in the chat, as in the Scott. Thank you, Scott, for this one. This week, we need to connect Orlando Bloom to Sandra Bullock. Let's try and connect those a little later.
Oh.
Dizzle, thanks for joining us, my friend. You know both of those. When would you like them? Well, you can
Wow,
spoil it now
nice.
if you like, or you can ruin the fun and tell us now or tell us later. Up to you. However long you want to stick around for. Anyway, those are our end games. We're going to get to those at the very end of the show. Before we get to the end of the show, let's get to the start of the show with our first review. It is going to be of Gold, which is a 2022 Australian survival thriller film directed by Anthony Hayes, an Australian actor and director, probably best known for roles in Animal Kingdom and The Light Between Oceans. It stars Zac Efron, Susie Porter, and Anthony Hayes, and follows the story of a drifter who, in a post-apocalyptic future, finds himself surviving the harshness of the desert alone in an effort to somehow claim the spoils of a gigantic gold nugget he has stumbled upon. Principal photography began in November 2020 in outback South Australia in the Flinders Ranges and Lee Creek. The film includes a desert sandstorm scene for which fans... Sorry, hang on a second. For which fans and sand were transported to the desert location. I read fans as like people who are fans of Zac. I was like, why on earth would they transport the fans there? They can just watch the movie. However, a real sandstorm began in the region, and the actors agreed to shoot in it instead.
What?
Crazy is that?
Ooh,
Efron
wow.
also broke a bone in his hand halfway through the shoot, but concealed it from the crew to avoid stalling production. Probably just wanted to get out of the desert, let's be honest. The film received a limited theatrical release on January 13 of this year before making its debut a couple of weeks later on streaming service Stan. The film has landed a bit flat with audiences who have given it an IMDb rating of 5.4, and there is no Metascore for this film. Very few critics have reviewed this one. However, it does have a Rotten Tomatoes rating, gentlemen. For the right to go first, kick it off with your guesses.
I reckon, like, I'm going to be furious, but I reckon critics like it. I reckon it's like an 81.
76.
50.
Not certified fresh, but still fresh at 85%.
Oh
No. So not enough reviews for it to be certified.
Not enough reviews for it to be
But
certified.
it's,
And
but it's
that
a,
is...
it's a fresh rating.
That is important. I recall way back in the day on the Awesome Addiction, our old podcast, we reviewed Paper Planes, another Australian film, and I recall being very excited for that one. It starred Joel Edgerton. I watched it at the cinemas, and then it had like a 97% not certified fresh rating, and it was like a 6 out of 10. It was fine, you know. So anyway, that might shape the conversation this evening. But Ben, you win the right. You strike gold, Ben, with your guess. So you get to go first. What did you think of Anthony Hayes' Australian survival thriller starring Zac Efron?
You guys remember Lincoln, the Spielberg, Daniel Day-Lewis film?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I
I
do.
never watched it.
Oh, there's this scene where they're trying to get these congressmen on their side for the vote against the amendment, for the amendment to the Constitution, etc. But what's his face? Who I can never remember. Hold on, what's his name? I love this guy.
Old
his name-
Giamatti.
Not Paul. James Spader.
James Spader.
James Spader has this scene where he's talking about how futile it is to convince this guy, and he uses the N-word a couple of times, but he says like he hates N-words. He hates God for making N-words. Like he's so bigoted or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's me for this film. I hated it. I hated every minute of its boring. I don't know. It felt like 3 hours, but it was probably shorter.
It was 97 minutes, Ben.
Is it? Okay. Perfectly honestly, I would have guessed it was a 2 hour film, or maybe just under 2 hours. But wow, 97 minutes. Okay. I thought, you know what? The makeup is great. Like they made Efron look crusty as a meat pie. Like he just had thawed and boiled and blisters, and like skin lesions and
It was
the
so bad. I was watching on the train just this evening on the way home because I had plenty of time, and I remember thinking to myself, is that what happens to your skin? Is that like in these conditions?
yeah, I
Like,
guess
disgusting.
it's brutal, man. He looks ridiculous. Like it's not ridiculous. He looks really dead, like dying. He's dying in the sun. He's just in the sun for days. And yeah, the movie is incredibly boring. Like afterwards, having it all behind me, and I'm not sitting there in the boredom, I can reflect and say, "Oh, I see. It's kind of a metaphor for greed and punishment, self. I don't know. Like there's an artsy film critic in me that wants to come out and like it, but I hate that guy as much as this movie. So I don't know. Don't watch this movie. It's that like oh I don't know. And there was like the image at the end. Like I really do want to spoil the film, but I won't. Like I want to spoil it just so that nobody watches it. But there's this horror element part to the end. Shane, do you know what I'm talking about? Where it's just like I don't want to see that. Like that's gross.
Oh, like
That's
a bit of gore going on.
yeah, a bit of gore, a bit of
Okay.
like okay, it's more than gore. It's not just like oh wow, you can see his head come off or oh he's explodes or whatever. Like that's gore, and sometimes it's like really exciting and funny. Sometimes it's thrilling. Sometimes it's just terrible. And this is the one of the terrible ones where I just like okay, so like there's this old werewolf movie. It's got the word dog in it, and there's a scene where like this guy's being like eaten alive by one of the werewolves, and he's like reaching out for help, and he's just like being devoured by the werewolf. And it was exactly like that. Like when I watched that when I was a teenager, and I was just like, ah, I hate it. Like it was just such a soul soul stabby moment where I'm just like, oh, that hurts inside to have to see that.
Yeah.
And that came at the end of a slow burn with no payoff movie. Like this is just how miserable can we make our audience in 97 minutes is what I felt this movie was all about. It's
And
like,
make it feel like it's taking longer. Like, how can we not actually use up more than 97 minutes of their time, but make it feel like they've gone through more than 97 minutes of pain?
Could you say
Right.
the filmmaker did a good job of putting you in the shoes of the main protagonist?
I think so, yeah. I felt tortured to death. I honestly wanted to never watch a movie again. I was like, that's it, I'm done.
Wow.
So I'm not watching movies anymore.
Just for the chat's benefit, Ben was the first to watch it, I think, and he messaged the group saying, "Whose choice was it to watch Gold?"
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry. Anyway, we might pass the ball around, and we can always loop back and throw some thoughts backwards and forwards. I think Terry, you are next.
Well, I can save you some time. After Ben's message, I didn't prioritize the film, and then I had a chat with Ben today. Even though I had the last couple of days off, I was going to watch it today, but I had a brief catch up with Ben this morning, and he said that it's soul crushing, and because of the week that I've had, I'm like, okay,
Fair enough.
I don't think I can handle that kind of film right now, so I won't. And it's worked out well because we want to have a shorter
we want
review
to make,
of this film. So
make enough room for the Batman. So all good,
yeah.
my friend. No worries. Let's pass along to Jason.
So after Ben's text, I was like, okay, maybe I'll skip this week's film. And then I got home earlier than I thought today, and I thought, you know what? I'm eating dinner. I'm just gonna chuck it on.
Just chuck it on.
Chuck it on.
Yeah.
The guys are gonna come. We're gonna jump onto Discord chat to like get ready for the show at like 8 o'clock. Yeah, it'll be fine. And then Shane says, "Oh, I'm running a bit late. Let's start the show later." And I'm like, "Well, it looks like I'm watching the whole film."
Right.
So I watched the whole film, and it was I see why the critics think like why it's the way it is. The cinematography is great. It's very well shot. The makeup is great. Efron does a good job acting against himself, but like the amount of no dialogue in it is interesting choice, and like it's just like interesting world building. I think I guess in the very narrow scope of what this film is trying to say, it's like a survival desert film. But like with everything else that's like shut up, Scott. I see you in the chat.
Oh, yeah. I'm waiting for that
Everything
too,
else
Scott.
that the film has like alluded to, like I'm curious to see like everything else. Is it like Mad Max happening in the background there? Because people are like, oh, you're from the north, are ya? You're city boy and blah blah blah. So it's just like, yeah, interesting. I think that would have been a more interesting movie. I don't know. It was just, yeah. I found myself looking at my phone a lot during this film. So not a lot happening. Very beautiful film. Like I said, just you could be doing better things.
What did you think
out there.
of Efron's attempt to try and like persuade someone from probing any further into his affairs? Like he's sitting there in the middle of nowhere, chilling out, and then this nomad comes along and is like, "Hey, you want like some water or something? What's going on?" And he's just like, "No, just leave me alone." It's just like, are you sure? I mean, like, there's a watering hole just over here. I could lead you to it if you want. Like, no, you just go. Like that. It's like, are you hiding something? No, I'm not hiding something. I just want you to go.
It's just like it's like a kid trying to hide.
Yeah. It's a kid with like Nutella around their mouth.
Yeah, there's like
And you're like,
broken vase right behind them or something, or something like that. They're like, no, you should just turn around and leave now. Thank you.
Yeah. Nothing to see here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, well, okay.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say I don't think I enjoyed the film experience. So if I was you, maybe skip it.
Fair enough. Raph, welcome. Yes, we're just discussing Gold right now, and I'll give my thoughts. Look, probably not as low as these two. I did find parts to enjoy, albeit I did enter my session watching on my phone on the train ride home this afternoon with Ben's comment in the chat in mind, thinking, okay, how bad could this possibly be? And you are right. Like it's like very, like, no pun intended here, very dry, very long, drawn out, slow movie. And unfortunately, the film doesn't do anything particularly amazing for you to latch onto throughout that experience. Like, I think about something like 127 Hours with James Franco, and even something like Black Swan, which, completely different style of movie, but that film does a great job getting into the head of the main protagonist and communicating in very thrilling and gratuitous ways what that character is thinking and feeling non-verbally. And I really think that this film could have done more to express that and really keep you on the hook into the psychological well-being of the main protagonist. We don't have a name for this person. Like in the credits scroll, Zac Efron's character is Man 1, and his other friend is Man 2. And then there's like the stranger, and that's it. There's a total of 6 actors in this movie. So I think it's certainly left wanting. I did like, to your point, Ben, the production value and the detail. Like, I think the cinematography looked beautiful in some moments as well. But there's just not enough meat on the bones. There's not enough ebb and flow in the middle of this film to keep you on the hook of, okay, we know that this guy is going to be out here for at least a few days. What is this journey going to look like? And it's never peaking and troughing in any like thrilling, entertaining, engaging ways to make you really like feel for the character or be like majorly fearful or majorly hopeful. There's just not a lot going on. And I think the film or the director doesn't do enough to keep you hooked in other interesting ways. Like, there could be more hallucinogenic scenes as well, like, what's real, what's not, and that's really only dabbled upon as well. So I think it is a disappointing film. I think there are still parts to enjoy, and given that it's only 97 minutes, I would say maybe give it a crack, because maybe you enjoy this type of like long drawn out film. But if you don't, then I'm certainly not recommending this one to you. So I'm excited, guys, because we have a new rating system that I wanted to debut in this episode. We have 3 ratings: don't miss it, don't rush, and don't bother. Ben, I'm going to ask for your vote and hover over what I anticipate is coming.
So don't bother.
Don't bother for Ben. Terry, we won't go to you. Mr. Mira.
No contest.
Sorry, what was it again?
Don't miss it, don't rush to see it, and don't bother.
Don't rush to see it.
Don't rush to see it. Oh, okay, I thought I was anticipating a don't bother. And as a don't rush to see it for me, I think I can recommend this film to some people, but not all. So there you go. It is available on Stan if you'd like to check it out for yourself. That is Gold, starring Zac Efron.
I love gold.
There's another movie called Gold with Matthew McConaughey. That's better.
Oh, right. There you go.